Hello, and welcome back to JPzilla as we explore the exciting news of the upcoming 5th installment in the Monsterverse, Godzilla x Kong, The New Empire. Recently, we just got a title reveal trailer, which in this video I will be analyzing through the lens of previously attained lore and dropped concepts from Godzilla vs. Kong to see if we can uncover a hint of the plot of this new Godzilla and Kong film. In the teaser trailer, we see what appears to be Kong sitting on his throne. However, this is certainly not Kong, at least not the one we know. This one is much lankier, and seems to have orange fur, though it is obscured by shadow. While the throne that he is sitting on appears similar to the one in Godzilla vs. Kong, it is not, as that one was carved into the base of a massive stone pillar, while this one stands alone. This indicates that, whatever this Kong is, he probably belongs to a rival tribe, or a rebel faction, as it is a separate Kong throne room, which almost seems to indicate a Kong civil war. Whatever this tribe or rebel faction was, I would estimate that this tribe was either far younger, indicating that it did indeed branch off from Kong's tribe, or just much less interested in building, indicating a more warlike society, as the architecture in the throne room, which we see in Godzilla vs. Kong, with its ornate arches and pillars, is much more intricate than the simplistic cave-like throne room of this evil Kong. Even more interesting is what we see as the camera pans away from this rival Kong. A massive graveyard stands at his feet, a graveyard of both Godzilla and Kong's. This actually has massive implications. We knew that from a line in the Godzilla vs. Kong trailer, a line cut from the actual movie.
It's real. There was a war.
There's going to be signs of some kind of Titan war, and this graveyard, along with some Godzilla-like bones in Kong's throne room, and the cave painting at the end of Godzilla King of the Monsters, gives evidence to that fact. From this deleted line, we can perhaps surmise that the director would have included more lore about the previous war between Godzilla and Kong species before making cuts to make the movie under 2 hours long. So if there are unused concepts from Godzilla vs. Kong, such as the discovery of an ancient Titan war, that seems to indicate a rather large storyline cut from Godzilla vs. Kong, one that could perhaps be picked back up in Godzilla x Kong, The New Empire. In fact, since the director of The New Empire is the same as Godzilla vs. Kong, I would not be surprised if the entire point of this film, other than making a lot of money by putting Godzilla and Kong back in the same movie, is to pick up some of those promising storylines that had to be cut from Godzilla vs. Kong. In fact, this theory seems to be backed up by the very fact that, for the first time in the Monsterverse, they are getting the previous movie's director back for the next movie instead of picking a new director, as this appears to have all been his and his writer's idea in the first place. So we know that a Titan War was meant to be explained in Godzilla vs. Kong, but got cut. We all assumed that this war was one of all of Godzilla's species against all of Kong's species, but what if it was more complicated than that? The fact that there are Godzilla and Kong bones side by side in what appears to be the remains of a battle almost indicates that they fought side by side, perhaps against whatever faction this enemy Kong sitting on the throne belonged to. So what if instead of a war between all Godzillas and all Kongs, it was a battle between one Kong tribe and the Godzillas against a rival Kong tribe, a tribe that, as the synopsis for the New Empire states of its new villain, was, quote, a colossal, undiscovered threat, hidden within our world, challenging their very existence and our own. While this theory may sound good, it does not take away from the fact that there are Godzilla-like bones in the other throne room as well, presumably the throne room of the tribe that the Godzillas were, in my theory, allied with, indicating that a battle between Godzilla and Kong took place there as well. This does not necessarily mean that they were fighting each other. The Godzillas could perhaps have been defending the throne room against invaders, but that is what it seems to indicate, that they were in fact fighting against each other. So if there are signs of a conflict between Godzillas and Kongs in both throne rooms, who were the Godzilla allied with, if anyone? My guess is still Kong's tribe, the Kong we know, though not at first. The bones in the throne room shown in the trailer for the New Empire are far more numerous than the ones in Kong's lair from Godzilla vs. Kong, indicating that the battle in the new Kong's throne room was much more heated, perhaps as a climax to a long war. So if one minor skirmish was fought in Kong's throne room, and the climax of the battle fought in this new, evil-seeming Kong's throne room. This indicates one possibility to me. The Godzilla and Kong species, two apex titans with massive senses of territorialism, were essentially destined to go to war. And so they obviously did. The chief tribe of the Kongs and the Godzilla species engaged in a long and grueling war that left the Godzilla we know with a grudge against all Kongs. This war would seem to go on forever, until another party threw its lot in, the rival Kongs. Led by the menacing Kong shown in the trailer for the new Empire, they picked no sides, slaughtering indiscriminately. As we saw in Godzilla vs. Kong, both Godzilla and Kong can recognize when they need to band together against a bigger threat. In Godzilla vs. Kong, it was Mechagodzilla. In this ancient war, it was this enemy tribe. At least, so I think. But what made them such a big threat? Well, as we saw in the trailer, the enemy Kong's eyes glowed with a familiar blue energy, presumably the energy of both Godzilla and the whole Earth. If this rival Kong fed on the energy for who knows how long, it could have left him with unnatural power. Some have theorized that, like Kong from the 1962 movie King Kong vs. Godzilla, this version of Kong could even have lightning-related powers. So, a super powerful monster forces the Godzilla and Kong species to unite against a more powerful foe. This concept is reminiscent of concept art of cave paintings from the art book for Godzilla vs. Kong. The monster that Godzilla and Kong were fighting against in that concept was a Godzilla with wings, perhaps hinting at the classic Toho monster, Space Godzilla. But this perhaps could have been simply a placeholder monster, like Gigan in certain concept art from Godzilla King of the Monsters. In fact, it would make a lot more sense for Legendary to invent a new kaiju for free, instead of paying Toho for yet another kaiju. And the concept of a new, evil Kong is something that will probably get any Godzilla or Kong fan just as excited as a returning Toho monster. So what about the title, The New Empire? Well, this seems to indicate that, if there is a new empire, then there was probably an old empire too, as evidenced by this old Kong sitting on a throne. If my theory is right, then this tribe was certainly an expansionist force, and that is exactly what an empire is. So, what is this new empire? Kong was the king of Skull Island, but now that Skull Island is essentially no more, and now that Kong does not live there, he's not a king anymore. Kong not being the king of his territory just feels wrong, so I'm sure that this movie will right that somehow. Many theories indicated that Kong would become King Kong, as he has not officially been called in the Monsterverse, by defeating Godzilla. Similar to how Ghidorah was called King Ghidorah only after Godzilla was injured and presumed dead by the Oxygen Destroyer, and Ghidorah took control of all the Titans. As we now know, Kong did not defeat Godzilla in Godzilla vs. Kong, but what if the theories are still true in a sense? What if Kong becomes King Kong by defeating another king? This time, the king of Hollow Earth. To me, this concept has great story potential. Kong has just found his new home. Not only that, but his wish has been granted. He has found more Kongs like himself. Unfortunately, his dream would not go as planned, and the Kong he would find would be one he would rather wish he had not found. Now Kong must fight against all odds to protect his new home and defend his new family. Whether or not that ends up being anything close to like what this new movie will be like, I still think it has great story potential. So if the Kong we know is not yet King Kong, will they call this new Kong King Kong until such a time as Kong defeats this King Kong? Probably not, as that would be very confusing for moviegoers and merchandisers. So what should this new Kong be called? Well, if my theory is right, and he rules the old empire that Kong will have to replace with the titular new empire, then he should obviously be called Emperor Kong. If Legendary wanted to throw a nod to Toho's Kaizer Ghidorah, King Ghidorah's most powerful variant, then they could call this new Kong Kaizer Kong, which would keep that initial K sound that makes King Kong slip so easily off the tongue. So, will Legendary throw a nod to Toho and decide to call their new Kong Kaizer Kong? I don't know, but that would be cool, and until such a time as they do announce his real name, I will be calling this new Kong Kaizer Kong. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please click like, leave a comment down below, and subscribe to JPzilla for more analysis and general Godzilla Kong and other kaiju content, and also to share the hype of Godzilla x Kong, the New Empire.